Hello and welcome to another episode of the Warhammer Meta Chasers. I am Dustin, going to be your host this evening because Paul and Adam are off, giving you the best possible live coverage of the Warhammer Worlds event that we will obviously be covering in this episode tonight. Now, if you're watching this live and you're watching the video, you can already see I do have a guest host on with me. Now, if you don't recognize him, do you even watch Warhammer videos? This is the amazing Scary, fellow Canadian. Thank you for joining me and co-hosting this show with me tonight, sir.
All right, thanks for having me, Dustin. I'm really excited to be here.
Really
Hello, everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying something different. We're going to be doing.
We're going to be talking like this
in the same room. There's like
yes, obviously we're in the same room. You can't
obviously.
There's nothing saying otherwise.
Today we're talking about the World Championships of Warhammer. I'm really excited. We're going to break down all the factions. We're going to break down lists of players who so far gone undefeated. Today we have the first day of gaming that happened at the the World Championships of Warhammer down in Atlanta. And of course, the Warhammer Twitch stream page is going to be doing live coverage tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday. All potential 12 rounds.
They haven't. They had Canadians on both episodes of 40K today for both games. So if you guys haven't been watching that, you've seen some of the awesome coverage already. If you haven't been watching it, what are you doing? Go watch it. It's great coverage. You got some great commentators, great quality video, great games. You got some AOS in there as well. So even if you want to watch the other one, you get to see both. By all means, you should be going to watch that. But right now, because that day is over, you have the Warhammer Meta Chasers, we're going to be looking after the meta, looking at a little bit more about the worlds, what they look like. Because we've already had a day of games, where it's a little bit different for our episode, because normally we will go over lists that but we don't know how they're doing yet because we've seen a couple. I had to pull out undefeated players. But to be fair, most of the ones I was looking at were usually undefeated players anyway, because we're Meta Chasers. We know exactly what's going on.
Yeah, we have a veritable who's who of players going to the World Championships of Warhammer. Every single game is the final of your local GT.
It is the epitome of a Shark Tank tournament. It is.
That's right.
The best of the best. Aside from us, obviously, we're not there. But somebody had to cover it.
Yeah, we had to stay at home and
be in our lives.
To
be fair, we both did get golden tickets. We just couldn't go because of various life reasons. But we're here, happy to cover it for you guys. So thank you for joining us. As you may or may not know, this is filmed live every Thursday. We have a great chat community here that's going to help us get through some of these things, and I will actually be asking the chat later on in the show to help us out with a few things, get some suggestions from you of some lists you want us to cover. Try to keep them on the undefeated guys, just because we want to cover the ones that are still in the running to win this Worlds event, and that's going to be the first winner of the Worlds event, of the first Worlds event ever, and it's going to be very exciting to see that. So I want to cover those as best as possible. But if there's a friend you really want to get on here and you're live in the chat, maybe be one of those lucky guys to get it covered, right?
Yep, absolutely. Now, the Warhammer 40K World Championship is also tracking points for every country. And there are countries from 5 different continents at the World Championship Warhammer. Like, we had a Canadian playing someone from Vietnam on stream.
Yeah.
And it was like
which is really amazing to see.
Crazy game. It was awesome so good. To see. So not only are we going to sort of like crown a champion, the aim of this is to crown like bragging rights for your country. So like every person who's there is also playing to gain points for their respective country. And then there's a cumulative tracker on the top of the Twitch screen that you're seeing as you watch on the Warhammer stream, where you see like all the points for all the different game systems. You have Kill Team, you have Underworlds, you have Age of Sigmar, you've got 40K. It's really cool. It's very exciting. And then on top of that, you've got the grand narrative. But of course, we're no filthy casuals here on this show.
Not at all. And we're not biased either. We're not even close to bias. I don't know.
No maple syrup for everybody.
No maple syrup for everybody. We keep it to ourselves.
I don't see any Aussies
until the end.
Then Americans here.
We feel bad and have to give it to everybody. So that's just.
That's right. Sorry. Very sorry.
Very sorry. Sorry.
But with that though, it's awesome. I'm really excited. So why don't we tell the folks how we're going to get this started?
Let's go over the one event that we will be covering, the Warhammer World Championships in Atlanta, Georgia. Scary, because you are the guest on here, I will ask you to go through the actual statistics of the faction breakdown for this event. Now, if you're new here, we do go over the faction breakdown of all the representation of every single faction that is at this event. And because this is a world invitational event of like the best of the best, like we were saying, if you ever wanted to see the pulse of the current meta, this is what to look at for singles, at least, because you're going to see the best players bringing the best list they possibly can because they want to win. So let's see what everybody's bringing.
Absolutely. Let's jump
right in
the juicy middle. Okay, so we've got 176 players at the World Championships. Overall, there's 12 potential rounds to remember. So if you play, there's 8 groups of 20-some players in each group. The top player from each of those groups will go to a double elimination game on, I believe, the Sunday.
The
Sunday, and that's double elimination, which means you have to lose twice to get knocked out. So you could lose your first game, win every game, get to the finals, beat the guy that has been undefeated the entire time, and then you have to play them again and beat them a second time.
You'll probably see this more often in like some of the fighting esports games. They'll always do that with the losers bracket coming up. If you win, you reset the bracket to play again. Same idea there, and that's a lot of Warhammer. A lot of high-level Warhammer.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So 5 days, 12. Anyway, lots of Warhammer. But
lots of Warhammer.
This is the top of the top. They're used to it. They're going to be on their feet. They're going to be drinking water, staying hydrated.
That's
important. In the zone.
Always in the zone. Artemis, Steve, while I wish both of you were there, thank you, sir. We wish we were there too. Unfortunately, of course, life just gets in the way sometimes, but we're still here. We're here with you guys. We're watching it the whole way, following it. Very excited about it.
And not biased at all.
Not biased at all. I don't know what you're talking about.
So with that, let's dump in. So Imperials, we have 5 Sisters of Battle, 7 Custodes players. We have a single Cult Mechanicus player. We have 7 Astra Militarum up there with Custodes. Very cool. We have 2 Grey Knights and a single Brave Imperial Knight player. Well, also Brave Cult Mechanicus. But they're the brave ones.
Don't call him brave. We know who that Imperial Knight player is.
Do we?
We do.
Who?
He's a Canadian. It's Eric.
Oh, Eric's the guy.
I'm pretty sure it's Eric, isn't it?
Man.
I'm going to double check right now, but I'm pretty sure he was actually going to do that.
Then again, I'm pretty sure Canadians all got together to make sure they didn't double up on factions, so that we had a high likelihood of getting best in faction points.
Yeah, it is him. It's him. It's
awesome.
Eric.
That's fantastic.
He's on the Stutter Scrub team. Hey, that's our Imperial Knight player.
Yeah, go. I'm also rooting for Mexico as well, of course.
Of course.
I have to. La patria querida. Okay, so we have Space Marines. They're all the same. 1, 2, 12, 18. They're all power armor, whatever. There's 30. There's 40 of them. Whatever. Nobody cares about the breakdown. No, I'm lying. Okay, so we've got 6 that are just Adeptus Astartes.
Which is basically Ultramarines.
Codex. Okay. 7 Dark Angels, 4 Space Wolves, 5 Blood Angels, 2 Death Watch, and 10 Black Templars, because
10 Black Templars.
We know the Sons of Sigismund are the best. Okay? Well, Sons of Dorn, the Fall of Sigismund.
Once again, no bias on this show ever.
We're the best, and they have the best win rate of all Space Marines.
Of course.
They're incredible. They're so good right now.
I mean, they are actually really good. I was going to break down a couple of those, but they all look pretty much the same. So, but anyway, we can go over some of those if some people in the chat want to look at it.
Let us know in chat if you want to go through. As for Chaos, 20 Chaos Space Marines. That's no surprise to me.
No, they're they're the second best, if not arguably the best in the meta right now.
They're incredibly good. 4,000 Suns, 4 Death Guard, 9 World Eaters, 2 straight up Demon players, and then 6 Chaos Knight players.
A lot more Chaos Knights than there are Imperial Knights, which is no different than what we normally see.
Yeah.
But Chaos Knights just seem to have more play right now than Imperial Knights. And is it because of just being able to ignore terrain sometimes? Is that the big pull for it? Maybe the fact that their little knights are just a little bit more efficient overall than the Imperial Knights. The Imperial Knights, the big ones, don't get their oaths anymore, or it's just there's a lot of things.
You have to take a big one with Imperial Knights.
You
right?
do. That's the thing.
You need
right?
to. You have to.
At least one.
there's no wiggle room. So you're spending 300 to 500 points on a big knight, which is like 4 to 5 little ones. So
yeah, like one big knight is like 40 neophytes, man. Like that's a lot.
A lot of it. As my son would say, 300 clan rats. He's very excited about me playing.
He's playing Skaven, or you're playing Skaven?
No, I'm playing Skaven,
okay.
And he wants me to take
that makes
300 clan rats to a tournament. I'm like, I refuse to do that.
He wants you to
just
suffer.
do it.
he is a trueborn for sure.
He definitely is. Then we have Xenos. We have 8 Necrons, 3 Orcs, 11 Tau, and I think that's mainly to do with the board setup. Like I really feel that it's because it's GW boards that you're going to see Tau.
Or is it just that Atlanta actually has a lot of Tau players? Like I actually see in that area of the US there are a good concentration of Tau.
Yeah, but how many people from Atlanta want a ticket? Like you can't just say.
Hey, you don't know. I said the area, not specifically in Atlanta.
What, the area?
All the Tau
United States?
No, just 1/4 of it. Quarter.
Okay, so there's a lot of Tau. Okay,
a lot of Tau.
Come over to the Dark City. Cultural exchange time.
Wow, that's next week. Get out of here. That's next week. We're getting to our list. Don't worry. Don't spoil
it. Thanks, Simon. Appreciate it. Okay, so 8 Votann. To be honest, I think Votann. I'm surprised there's not more Votann because Votann is like ridiculously good.
The models. People cannot get enough Sagittars.
Oh, I guess that's true. They have
the Sagittars and the Terminators. Those are like the 2 things that you need in every single list, and you need a lot of, and they're just impossible to get. It's a major hobby lag with Votann.
More like Games Workshop. Step up your game on production, bro.
Right?
Let's go.
Yeah. Come on.
Yeah. And now your favorite faction, the Hive Mind.
Yeah.
So we'll just skip it. Then we'll go to my favorite faction, the Eldari.
Wow.
I'm sabotaging the entire show. Okay.
Wow.
We've got
this isn't your show. Come on.
We got 3 Tyranids and 5 Genes to the Cult.
Genes to the Cult actually outnumbering the Tyranids this time, which has not happened very often lately after their huge smack to the face.
But why? I feel like Tyranids have all the tools to do well. Like, what is the big deal?
Honestly, Tyranids, they have so much play, and I think people have they might feel like it's already been figured out, which it hasn't. There are some lists out there, like I don't see enough Vanguard guys. There should be some Vanguard out there because it is good, very good, but it is a very high ceiling. Most of them are going to be like Synaptic Nexus or ironically Invasion Fleet, just because the original Invasion Fleet is just good in general. But the big thing with them, like I said, I think people think it's figured out and they don't have much play. Maybe once we realize more about how much Battle Shock can be like affecting games, because the Battle Shock effect that Tyranids actually have access to is one of the most devastating things that can happen to some armies. Like if you're not ready for that, they can interrupt your primary. They can get their own primary off. You're like, I stole this objective. It's like, okay, well now make a Battle Shock because maybe I still get it anyway. Because
Tyranids,
if you don't have 3 Neurolictors, you're doing it wrong.
Oh, Neurolictors are so good.
They're so good.
They're so annoying. I've played against lots of them. Anyway, I'm just surprised that there's just as many Tyranids as there are Orcs. Like, you know what I mean? But then there's more Gene Stealer Cult than there are like Orcs. Gene Stealer Cult they're also a good faction.
They're a very good faction. The reason that they got hit hard. They got hit really hard. They still have a lot of play, but I feel like a lot of people fell out of love with them after the hits because it wasn't as easy to just kind of drop and kill stuff. There's a lot more counterplay to it that started coming up. People were bringing like with infiltrators everywhere. A lot of this 12-inch bubble. Some of that started to kind of fall away. Overwatch hurts them a lot too. Like even if you get your demo charge in there, I pay my CP to come just outside of 3. Okay, I Overwatch you. I kill if you kill enough of them. That's the other thing. Overwatch has to kill at least 7 of them to get into those demo charges to really nerf the damage from it. Yeah. But there's also, which again, another thing is Tyranid Vanguard can do. Everything that comes in from Deep Strike, you have to take a Battle Shock and a 2-up. Like that's a big deal for something like Gene Stealer Cult. But Gene Stealer Cult has a lot of play. They're not an easy army to play anymore. It seems that they have very few builds. It's like how many demo squads, how many neophyte squads do you take, and do you take Aberrants? That's the big question. Right?
So we'll basically, I guess, once codexes start coming out, like we saw Tyranids, the codex has a couple of different builds, but folks have sort of like moved away from them because there's other flashier things in the meta, right? But I don't think Tyranids are bad. I feel like Tyranids are at a spot where people will cycle back to them eventually, and we'll start seeing some really crazy, innovative builds. And then with Genes to the Cult, they do their one thing, which was like hit you so hard that you just couldn't get back up again. But now stuff like you can't double 3-inch, right? Because you cannot double 3-inch. You can only kind of do it once a turn unless you're using like rapid ingress and then advancing and shooting them and doing other stuff, or using trucks to like get other units. So you have to spend resources elsewhere. And then if your units do die, it's not like an instant reanimation of the entire unit. Like there is a chance your army will slowly deteriorate over the course of the game, which granted, but someone like with your skill, and in this case, I could see Gene Steel Cult. I'm not sure if there are any undefeated Gene Steel Cults yet. I'm not really sure. Excellent. It just shows like of course you are. That's your thing.
That's my thing.
Plan. Generation in the making.
Generations in the making, of course.
Generations. Yeah, absolutely. Since yesterday. So Eldari. That's the longest generation Gene Steel Cult ever had. One day.
Man.
Then we go to my favorite faction, the Eldari. There are 2 Drukhari players that both ended up being in the same pod.
That sucks.
Yeah, I'm like, what are the odds? Out of 170 people, there are 2 Drukhari players, and they both get shoved into the same pod. I don't even know if they won their games, but maybe they did. I think one of them did lose. I can
look at it right now while you keep going. See,
and then 34
Eldari. You're not going to like hearing this, Jerry. Both of them are 0-2 right now.
Ah, sad. That's why you needed me there. Okay,
that's right. See, that's right.
I would
get 2 faction experts that are on factions that are not that popular right now.
You can't. Don't listen to the meta. The meta lies.
The meta has no idea. Yeah, don't listen to it. That's why when you go into games, you have no idea, right? Like you're Skari. Oh, you're playing Drukhari. Oh, whatever. Garbage faction. I heard it's the worst in the game.
Yep. Till I play it, and then there's an 8% win rate increase across the global sphere.
You go to one tournament, and the whole faction win rate just like doubles.
Dorian says learning to play Vanguard is like walking into brick walls. It's just tough. It's just tough. You know what?
Wrong.
It's not wrong. Matthew, how's it go? That's true. But that's the thing. It's very. I feel right now you could really win with any faction. Right.
The meta is in an actually fantastic spot right now. It is.
You just have to dedicate yourself to it. And there's no there are a couple of factions that are not point and click.
Yep.
So you have to think about it. And a lot of people don't have the time or like tenacity to like just play multiple games to figure something out. They want to take something and just apply it nowadays, which is like very different to when you and I started the game 20 years ago or whatever, when it was like if you wanted to find out a combo, you figured that combo out and you tested it, and then you like went to an event and tested it again and honed it and perfected it over like 2 years, and it was like your thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Anyway. That's the big thing right now because of the internet and because of stream games too, because of TTS even. You have a lot more chance to test your list. You have the chance to read other lists that have done really well, so you can just like copy those, bring those lists. So that's one of the reasons that when a list does really well for a faction that's either well-known or not well-known, there's so many people on that faction that be like, cool, I'm going to try this then, because it obviously can win. The thing, and I have no problem with net listing because you can. So by all means, just be aware, you pull a net list out, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be your style. You might not like it, might not like jive with you kind of thing. And there are other mitigating factors. This is a dice game. It's a matchup game, terrain, missions. Like there's so many things that come into the factor with all the matchups that you have. Just because a list does really well in one tournament doesn't mean it'll do well in another one, because missions could be different. Terrain could be different. You could be playing different matchups. So it's just, that's why This is a great game, though. You always have to be on your toes. You always have to be chasing the meta.
Yeah, or being part of the meta.
Or being part of the meta.
34 of these Eldari players, right?
34 of these Eldari players.
Which is
that's what we're kind of leading up to there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So what's the faction podium for this event then?
So the well, let's start with some super faction stats.
Sure, go over the super factions.
So super faction stats, the biggest super faction represented at the World Championship is Chaos with 45 players, which is, hey, Chaos be good.
Only 20 of which being Chaos Space Marines, though.
Right. But that's still okay. You got to be prepared to play some Chaos, or against some Chaos. The next highest is Eldari with 36 of them.
Now 34 of them are actually Eldar.
I'd like to get a mulligan, please.
Right. Okay. So remember when we said this meta is actually really good right now, except for that. That's like I'm not saying they're overpowered right now, but they are still the best faction in the game. They are statistically, and just because of the way they can play the
silly Eldar.
And they're also probably, aside from Space Marines, I think they're the most owned army too.
Moving on. Okay. Moving on from this traumatic experience that I'm having right now. The next, in third place for super faction, we have Space Marines. Space Marines Advance. I recently played Dawn of War again. I was doing some stuff on, and I reinstalled my my Dawn of War, and I was playing it.
Dawn of War 2, Dawn of War 3,
Soulstorm, just like legit.
Of course, because Dark Elder
legit.
in that one.
The Dark Elder in that one. I was running the old Dark.
That's where they added the planes. That's why it got kind of weird.
Yeah, the planes did get kind of weird, but I was pulling out all the old Talos and the old Scourge and stuff and the old Raiders. It's like a little nostalgic, being like, oh.
No, I love that game. I had to play Eldar in that one because GSC.
And that's why I was thinking about Space Marines, because in that game, Space Marines are pretty cool.
They are actually pretty cool.
Yeah, they're pretty neat. And they're awesome. Yep. Anyway, into the next one, we have Imperium. Technically, Space Marines are Imperium. Okay, there's 57 Imperial players. 34 of which are playing Space Marines, and then the other 23 are faction Imperium of some sort. Then we have Xenos being at 30, and then we have Hive Mind being 8, with the lowest
representation, which I don't think that's ever really going to change. To be honest, I'm pretty sure we're just the lowest represented faction.
Unless Leviathan comes back.
That's not going to happen. No, there's nothing about that. I don't know what you're talking about.
Never know. Games Workshop gets wacky with some campaign supplements at times. Well, let's see what they do this time around. And with that, it moves on to the faction podium.
Mm-hmm.
We should have a little jingle or something for this. Right across the screen. Pow. And then we go. Faction podium, first place, we have Eldari.
Yeah, no, nobody cheer for that. Don't cheer. This is not a cheering moment. No, stop it.
Fine.
No.
Then we've got in second place, Chaos Space Marines. Pain is a good thing.
Yeah, that's another one that's not surprising, like we said.
Look,
Eldari and CSM. Before we go further, this one. Eldar and CSM are the two best armies in the game right now. They are.
Yeah, they are. With Votan a close third.
Yeah, I feel like Votan has a bit more of a skill matchup than CSM and Eldar. I'm not saying that CSM and Eldar don't require skill. I'm just saying that Votan require a bit more skill to do well with than they do.
Well, their good list is an MSU build of little 5-man, lots of little transports everywhere, and scouts and infiltrates, but if you play, you have to play it smart. It's just you can't overwhelm your opponent. But the ranges are really short for most of their stuff. You have to
it's 24 on average, I think. So
we could do a whole Tactica on Votan, but
we could do a whole Tactica on all of this stuff.
That's right. Then we have Tau in third place. Surprising.
Yeah, so that's a big one. Tau has not podiumed in an event in. I could count on one hand in 10th edition how many times they've done it.
Was Richard Siegler playing at any of these events with Tau?
No. I think it was one 2 months ago that he played at.
Mm-hmm. And is he at this one?
He is at this one.
And is he undefeated?
We're going to go over that later.
Oh, okay. Then we have in 4th place Black Templars, which absolutely they have all of the chainswords to beat all of the enemies.
Just bring more chainswords.
The solution to every problem: bring more chainswords. And then World Eaters, who also have lots of chain weapons, but there's 9 of them. And they're very similar to Black Templars. It's like high pressure, Black Templar, World Eaters, or mechanized Black Templar / World Eaters.
I feel like Black Templars have a bit more durability, though, don't they?
It depends. If you take the Black Templar,
I guess it depends on the build.
Feel no pain. That's short, but there have been some like weird skew mechanized Black Templar lists.
It's weird
with, like,
actually seeing
15 like, tanks or something.
It takes a bit to get used to seeing 10th when you see like, oh, Black Templars, but it could still be a different detachment. So it could be Black Templars mechanized, it could be Black Templars, Gladius. Actually, I think that's what Harpster's bringing is Gladius Black Templars.
Yeah. Well, being able to advance and charge once a game is good. Being able to move when your opponent gets close to you is good. There's like some cool stuff in there.
It's weird.
With stuff is good.
When you see one of these sub factions, it could be any version of it. Like, there's so many different versions, which is cool. I actually like it. Yeah.
World Eaters,
again, not seeing too much surprise in people's faces on that one after Anthony crushed that
showed off what the faction can do. It is cool to see World Eaters. Like, they were another one of those factions that in the balance update got some tweaking, and they have play, right? So now you can actually take enough stuff. They play missions, they win games, etc. Of course, top players in attendance, we normally go over like top players at a GT or whatever. However, this doesn't apply for this event, does it, Dustin?
No, well, it does apply, but it's everybody. We don't have enough time to go over all 176 players. But
yes,
I guess luckily in this case, normally we don't like it when this happens, but luckily in this case, because we already have a day of games, it gave us a bit more narrowed down. We can pick some players to go through that are still undefeated. And I would like to brag that the 3 that I picked were undefeated, and I picked them yesterday.
Oh, very cool. I would also like to say that when we say top players in attendance, now we can narrow it down to the top 60 or whatever.
Top, what's half 176?
80, quick. 40. The top 40.
40, what? Oh, yeah, because half and half. Yeah. 42-ish, 43.
There was a draw in there 41? Somewhere. 40. Everyone else no longer fits in that category.
Yeah, you are no longer the top attendance. But you're still top in the world and top in our hearts. So thank you.
Yeah, that's right. Just in our hearts, not in attendance anymore.
Not in attendance anymore. Oh, this is what happens when you bring a Dark Eldar player on the show.
Okay, you've let me out of my cage. You've kept me in a box for too long, Dustin.
Too long. I know it's a problem. Joel, thanks for joining us. Nikki D. Williams, hey, buddy. How's it going? Thank you for joining us live. Again, for those of you that are just joining us now or listening to us after the fact, we do film this every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time live. So please come join us in the live chat. You can interact with us. And again, for this show, because I actually have a lot of people that we want to go through, if the chat has any list that they want us to go over in this show live, let us know by the time we get to the end of the 3rd list we have here, and we will probably cover it. Please do the current undefeated players if you can, because we want to keep it to the undefeated as well. Because again,
keep it to the top players.
Even if they are number 1 in our hearts,
that's right.
They're not number 1 in attendance anymore, so we got to cover the number 1 in attendance. So we will start with the first and someone near and dear to my heart, obviously, for obvious reasons, Mr. Alex McDougall, who is currently 2-0 with the Gene Stealer cults.
Fellow Canadian.
Fellow Canadian, fellow GSC. Everything about him. I love him. Love it. Alex, you beautiful bastard. Thank you for doing so well. Let's go over what you brought. He has Ascension Day detachment, obviously. He has the Abominant instead of the Biophages, which we're going to see a little bit more of coming up because it's a little bit more durable, a little bit more damage, sustained hits all the time. It's nice. Got the 1 Nexus, that's all you need. 3 Primus, which is pretty standard. 1 Saboteur, 3x10 Acolytes with demo charges, 2x20 Neophytes with Seismic, which is all you need in terms of the big squads. 1 10-man if you get that CP farming. 10 Aberrants, a Ridge Runner, and 3 Cyclops demolition vehicles, which is 75 points of little dinky things to go do actions. Now, the Abominant does have, or no, one of the Primuses have Focus of Adoration. You know what that does, Gary?
Lets you move around? No.
That's the free heroic that I always use against.
Lets you pass off mortal wounds better?
No. What? That's a what? That's a strat now.
Oh, okay. Dude, I haven't played against Gene Call in like a long time, okay?
It's a lie. We played not too long ago.
Yeah, but you did not have the focus of adoration. Okay?
Yes, I did.
Did you?
Oh yeah, gosh. The Acolyte squad that came in, heroic didn't use
I just remember it was not relevant in our game. So you
wow. What? They wiped 2 units. You're a liar and you know it. Okay.
Wait, are you saying the Primus with it? Or is it
one of the Primuses has it, yeah. So he's gonna be with an Acolyte squad.
Remember. You know, all I remember is liquefiers met neophytes, and liquefiers be good against neophytes.
Yes, they are. It's annoying.
That's what I remember from that game. That and the fact that there was like an explosion that led to another explosion.
It was
or something, which was really fun. Yeah, it was a chain.
That was in the charge phase. Like the charges were still happening, and that happened.
Also, that rock grinders were terrifying.
They were only cheaper. But what do you think of Alex's list?
So, the Saboteur is fantastic. I'm surprised that he's not taking more of them. You've got the 3 demos with Acolytes with demos, which is not bad. It means he can like sacrifice, like do 1 unit every turn for like 3 turns and like pick a target, like nuke it, pick a target, nuke it. So I really like that. The Neophytes with seismic cannons, do they have, I'm assuming they have Webbers, but I guess they could be grenades. But like
grenades is actually more common a lot of the time, but I'll actually
it is. Like Webbers are probably better. I think Webbers are better in my opinion. But that gives you a large amount of board control. You know, 1 Nexus and a couple of like the Primuses can go in with the Acolytes, or they can switch with the Neophytes. You have the versatility to move them places, and then of course the Abominant can go with the Aberrants, and just I feel he's a little bit more well-rounded than the Biophagus. Because the Biophagus is really, really powerful, but with the anti-infantry 2+, but then you run into like something that's not infantry, like a Satan or whatever, and then they like don't do anything.
Well, the lethal hits do help them. They do help them. And they are grenade launchers.
Okay, so grenades, okay. And then we've got...
It's because grenade launchers with the Primus are mathematically better than the Webbers.
Okay. And then you've got the Ridge Runner for the ignore cover / that sort of thing. Now the Cyclops, cool little tech, but that's what makes the difference between like your average player and someone who's practiced or understood what their list needs. Like Cyclops demolition vehicles are like this big.
They're so tiny.
Right? So like you can zone out a whole table board with 3 little tiny models. You know what I mean? And like have like a you can have them go into corners and do like, investigate signals, get them in the middle to do a teleport homer and not have to sacrifice anything early on in the game. Like put them behind a wall and they might have OC. So put them behind a wall and hold an objective and force your opponent to go kill a dinky little tiny thing.
They have OC.
They might be OC 0. Okay.
I think they're OC 0.
Screen out, move around, and hides behind a wall that's this tall. You know what I mean? Like it's just really small. So smart play there, and not surprising that he's done well so far, because Alex is a monster when it comes to playing games. He doesn't get out very often, but like he is a good player.
Absolutely, for sure. I love the list. I'm seeing more and more the leaning Oculus with demos than the Neophytes. 2x20 Neophytes is the number, I think. Like doesn't matter. You take 1, 2 Primuses, you take 3 Primuses. It doesn't matter. 40 Neophytes, like 2x20 with the fully decked out, that's the number. The 10 is there for the CP farm because that's the only thing, I think, the only way we have to regen CP, really, aside from the upgrade when we spend CP to not maybe get one back. But it's great for just holding a back objective or a side objective, doing actions, and again, farming your CP. So the 3 Cyclops demolition vehicles, 75 points. Like that's why he doesn't have a second Saboteur, at least, so we can have 3 of those.
Yeah, absolutely. And then like sometimes you see there's variations from this list, but I think that there's a core there that if you're a Gene Stealer Cult player, you take that core and then build the characters around that core based on like what your play style becomes.
Yes,
right.
Absolutely.
So I think there's a good core there. He's developed it for his own play style, and then it's definitely a good sort of like framework to go from.
Yep, I agree completely. Yeah. Dorian wants to see Liam Hackett's. Well, sir,
nice.
Wish and you shall receive.
So it's only fair that Liam Hackett's Necron list gets rated by the best Necron player.
Oh my god, I knew this was coming too.
Where's my award? I have it around here somewhere.
Yeah, go get it. Yeah, make sure you show
it's
that.
at the studio, actually. So I have it. It's at the studio.
So,
I don't mind
you
if
go
I
over
do.
this list
Thank
then.
you very much.
You go over that list.
Okay. So we have a CCBB, which is the Capital C Bloodbath.
Wow.
Then we have the
Wow.
That's a very Canadian reference.
That's a very Canadian joke. Very Canadian dad joke.
Okay, so a Catacomb Command Barge. Of course, it gives you the ability to resurrect warriors. I believe it stacks with like other resurrections as well, which is really weird.
I think CCB's heals Satans. It can heal Satans, but like
it basically makes the reanimation protocol of anything within 6 inches like activate.
Yeah.
But it can make something that already had a reanimation protocol activate. I think activate again or from like a Ghost Dark. Anyway, there's like it's some shenanigans. It also increases the OC of everything nearby.
Yeah.
So one of the things the Australians, like a lot of the lists at the World Championship were designed to tackle primary and just stop your opponent from scoring primary like at all, and just be like, I'm just going to score my points and stop you from scoring any primary points. And his list tends to do that very well, especially when you've got warriors with extra OC. So you don't need a lot of warriors on an objective to have like 15 to 20 OC on there, right?
And Liam has obviously practiced the style of list. It's the kind of list he loves to play.
Now, Chronomancer is really interesting. You get shoot and then move with a Chronomancer, which gives you a lot of like mission play and the ability to get up the board quick. Then you got the Nightbringer, who's a very big damage dealer in a small package. He's like this big of a base and just can really do some work because he's a Nightbringer. So Xeris is really good. He's a tank and he buffs all the core units around him. And he's not bad in combat and shooting and survivability. Then we have Orkan the Diviner in a squad of warriors. Once per game goes ham and can just like turn the tide of battle for you in a key spot where you need to like break out a unit of warriors or something. Then we have a Overlord for free CP and he's a tanky character. And then we've got a Warden, which gives you the ability to take away battle shock from a unit once per game. I'm assuming that's some good Tyranid tech in there, just so that you don't get battle shocked off of primary, right? Like on a key turn, because Necron OC, Necron leadership is not as good as you would expect.
I would like to point out that Sky is obviously showing off his knowledge of the Necron Codex right now as he's reading off all of these units.
Well, you came here for professionalism. I'm going to give that to the folks.
I don't know if professionalism is what we're getting, but
fair.
We're getting knowledge. I will give you that.
There you go. Then we've got the Satan with the Weave, which is point for point one of the silliest units in the entire game.
Dumb.
It's so silly.
So dumb.
I can't believe that survived. Like
it is so dumb.
I can't believe it survived the nerf. Like it's just too good. Then we have 2 blocks of 20 warriors, a Ghost Dark to help with reanimation, a Reanimator to help with the reanimation, and 2 × 2 Crypto Thralls, which allows the warriors to survive a little bit longer. All in all, it's a pretty straightforward Necron list. This is very similar to something I would build. And he's running the Nightbringers as the 2 Satan as like main damage dealers, right? Yeah. With a lot of tech for holding objectives and scoring points. I'm pretty sure this list goes for something like fixed and then just maybe tactical, but mostly fixed and just goes, I'm going to do cleanse and deploy teleport homers and good luck.
What are you going to do about
all these objectives sort of thing. So yeah, I like it. And it's Liam. Like he just plays Necrons. Faction experts, like he is the Necron guy. You know what I mean? Like in terms of world-class play. So if he's going to take Necrons the distance, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, of course. And again, this is 2-0. So he is currently 2-0 at the Worlds event, which is pretty impressive. And with Necrons, equally impressive. However, our last list that we have covering here is, while the player might not be surprised to be there, the faction is. It is Richard Siegler with the Tau Empire. Now, if anyone was going to bring Tau here and do ridiculously well, Richard would have been the first guy I said was going to. I wouldn't have guessed he was going to bring them, but I want to see what he's bringing because he's 2-0. And it's not low scoring. It is Siegler. He's like 88 and 87 score on his first 2 games. So
yep.
He has the Callion detachment with Anva, Cold Start Commander, And this is where it really goes sideways from any other towel list. 5 by 10 breachers, 4 devilfish, 2 broadsides with plasmas and rails, 6 crisis with 10 shield drones, 3 crisis with 4 shield drones, 2 by 10 pathfinders, and 2 tetras. That is 50 breachers and 4 devilfish. He has gone so hard into the breacher devilfish tech that we're talking about secondary game with Liam's list. This is exactly what Richard's doing too, with his crisis suits being there to be killed. And broadsides be able to do that too, but
yeah, which is a departure on like Richard's original concept, which was ghost keels and a lot of the lone op stuff.
That's what we usually see with towel lists.
Right. Well, it's good. It's not bad. It helps you score. Then you can supplement that with crisis suits or whatever. Like breachers, though, Matt, point for point, do an incredible amount of damage. Yep. And their ability to pop out of a devilfish and then pop back into a devilfish to prevent getting charged and things like that. Like there's some really good tech that goes with it, which supplements a player like Siegler very, very well.
Yes.
One of my favorite tech pieces in any towel list is Aunva. He is awesome.
Is it a he or is it a fish?
It's a it, sure.
Okay. I honestly don't know. So.
It's the homunculus coven matters not. They just make weirdly colored grotesques, once they get a hold of them.
You don't discriminate.
Aunva has a once per game 2-up invulnerable save, which makes him like really tanky for one. Like he can just hold up an entire like charge of something that doesn't have devastating wounds by himself in combat or shooting or whatever. So it's like that one turn that you sometimes need just to like set up your 50 breachers murdering your entire army thing. It's good. I like it. It's like doesn't look like a lot, but once you put it on the board, it's playing that MSU lots of things, but the Tau way. They can't really split their units and things like that, but they have like lots of stuff all over the board and have lots of OC to control the primary and enough things that they can shove like 10 breachers or 10 pathfinders in your face at a time to like stop you from scoring primary and move block you and do all this stuff while the crisis suits just kind of pick a target and nuke it and then pick another target and nuke it and and just kind of do that target after target.
Yeah, for sure. And with the shield drones and the strats they have, like they're not easy to pick up either. Like you need to be able to focus a lot into them to even do damage to them. So it's a good list and it's obviously going to do well. It's got a ridiculously good pilot. It's a really good scoring list, like you were saying. So I love it. I love it. So those are the lists that we wanted to cover for the World's events. Do you have any final thoughts on the World's event right now? Normally we would pick winners in this one. It feels a little, because we won't, with the second part of this episode, for those of you that are part of our Patreon, we do a second part that we actually review all of the stats from the past events. And we will normally score up who myself, Adam, and Paul voted for in terms of who would win the event or perform well faction-wise. But because we're not going to do that here, we're going to be covering in depth the different factions and the different winners of the event in our second part. So it's actually going to be good, and we are going to make that public for all you lovely people so you can all see what the second part is like, and if you want to become a patron to gain access to that as well. So all that to say, we're not going to pick a winner here unless you really want to. Who do you think?
No, I think they're all winners just by
they are all winners. Exactly.
They all got little golden tickets and everything.
They already. Yeah, so they're at the chocolate factory and they're eating all the chocolate they possibly can. So
that's right. That's right. And there's no Oompa Loompas.
There's no Oompa Loompas. Well, that's not true. We're not there. We don't know that for sure.
That's true.
We don't know.
True. You never know. If any of them turn
into there is a narrative event. Somebody could be an Oompa Loompa at the narrative event.
Which, by the way, the grand narrative is awesome. And is awesome.
And that's pretty much all there is to say about that, right?
I dressed up as a Harlequin last time. Okay.
You did do that. So this is the part of our show. For those of you that are new here, we take a break from all the crunchy stats and everything that we go over with Warhammer Meta and everything. And we talk about a random topic that is usually submitted by a patron. The subject can be a patron, or the questions can be submitted by patrons. And we give ourselves 2 minutes to talk about it and then never to revisit them again, unless it's funny or a patron asks for it. So that's just how it is. Today's topic is obviously world champions.
Okay. I like it. It's a good topic.
Because this is kind of
After.
what we're leading into, right? I'm leading into it, and I can just slide back and forth on the live show. See, you can see my video. We're all stretching. We're all stretching.
Okay, I'm ready.
To go.
I'm
You ready?
Okay.
You did your stretching. Okay,
Let's
good.
do this.
So number 1, the best sports championship to watch and why. I mean, like World Cup, Super Bowl, whatever your flavor is. I have a feeling I know what one yours is going to be, but
yeah, my best sports champion, the football, the World Cup for sure, 100%.
Really?
It is
Oh yeah, you said football and then said World Cup. That's
the football, the World Cup.
I know.
The football. You clearly very not culturally. No, I'm just kidding. So 2 minutes go. It is because it's the most. Honestly, it's the most like worldwide sport.
See,
it just is. There's no it. You know, second would be. That's it. It's just no second to it. That's it. That's what I'm gonna say. Yep.
Artemis, Steve, and Nurgle Matthew. Well, thank you. We're trying to be legit as much as we can. Joel, it says NBA Finals. Artemis Steve says Stanley Cup. Artemis Steve, and KR, you are both correct. Stanley Cup is by far.
Fair enough. Only if you can grow a beard.
I'm sorry. I cannot stand watching soccer. I can't stand
football. It's called.
It doesn't. I can't stand watching football either. So anything with foot and ball in the name, I can't stand watching it. It is so mind numbing.
Yes. Garrett Quintero says World Cup is once every 4 years. Yes, it is. So once every 4 years, that is the thing to watch. Every time else, yes, I do watch the Stanley Cup. I will admit, Stanley Cup is fun.
Stanley Cup is that's. I feel I actually still don't watch that. To clarify too, I play baseball. I love playing baseball. I can't watch it. So it's not that I don't like the sport. I just can't.
Unless you're going to see the Jays, like for a day.
Well, if you go live, going to an event live, that's different. That is very different. If you're at a live event, that's an experience. That's not just watching an event. That's a whole experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. In North America, it's called soccer care. Exactly. Yeah. Put this Archon in its place, please. It's called soccer here. We're in Canada, North America, man.
Fine. You know what? In 3 seconds, we have to revisit this topic again.
Say soccer.
Football.
Oh my God. That's Fuego. Next up. The greatest actor or actress of all time. Ooh.
Charlie Chaplin.
Ooh. Charlie Chaplin. That's an interesting choice.
Yeah, a very
someone who doesn't even really speak in his roles, but has a lot of character and a lot of expression.
Right. It's just the expressing the art through being able to just morph his own. Like, yes, he had an image, but like the characters he played were very, very varied, and what he did as an artist was very impactful. Or like the social commentary that he used the medium of film through and comedy and stuff was very like. I feel like that's like one of the greats of all time. Would have to be Charlie Chaplin.
Damn. Scary, definitely dropping some knowledge. That was a good explanation. You know what? I'd never even considered that, but that's a good answer. That is a good answer. Danny DeVito as Penguin Joel. I mean, he did do a great job as Penguin.
And then he started squawking.
Wow. Katharine Hepburn. Okay. I mean, sure. I actually have trouble with this one. I'm like, because now that you said Charlie Chaplin, I feel like he kind of defined a genre too, so it's hard to. I'm trying to think of somebody else to define a genre, and I can't really think of anybody that is doing it. Like, there's a lot of great actors out there.
Like, there's a lot of great directors as well. You could be like,
that's true. They do need a good director. You'll see some actors that are like actors and actresses that are in a bad film, but it's not their fault. You know, like they still acted well in it. Mm-hmm. Robert De Niro's another good one. If I had to pick one, I don't know why. But I feel like in terms of like range and different movies I've seen him in and things that I would watching it, I would actually probably say Anthony Hopkins.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And then of course the great Robin Williams.
And of course the late great Robin Williams.
We cannot not mention.
We cannot not mention. Yeah, definitely.
That was Fuego.
That was Fuego. All right. Next up. I lost my thing. Where'd it go? There it is. The country with the best food in the world.
¿Cómo puedes traer la comida a esta discusión, señor? La comida mexicana, mejor comida en el mundo, cultural y deliciosa.
Okay, I got about 7 or 8 words out of that. I'm assuming
tacos are good. Okay, I'm just saying.
That's what you went to tacos. Well, okay, thank you for being Paul for today.
Food in general, it is a cultural heritage, like a world heritage food is like traditional Mexican food. I'm just saying it is incredible. It's healthy. It's delicious. It's easy to make. It's not super expensive, and it's incredible for you. That's it.
I mean, we're both obviously going to be a little biased on these answers here, I think. And you did have, I think that's probably what Paul would have said too, because he loves Mexican food. It would be hard for him not to say burgers, but what would you classify that as? Burgers, like, is it an American thing?
Well,
and then
I guess
Adam would have said something like,
burger.
drop bears or something. It's one of the delicacies in Australia, and I don't actually know what the hell is going on over there.
Raw kangaroo meat.
Raw kangaroo meat.
I don't know what they eat in Australia. Do they just eat normal food? I don't
know. Yeah, I don't know. Koalas?
I don't know.
Is that a delicacy too? Dorian, Indian, yes. Indian is amazing too. There's different scales of it too. Like if authentic Indian is very different than kind of like I'll call it the fast food version that we see a lot in like North America too, which both are good. Both are very good. If I had to pick one though, I am definitely saying
Korean food is delicious.
That's like, not what I'm saying, but it's still good. Yep. There's so many
it's so delicious. What was it? Was that like, remember when we go to Vegas and in the restaurant there's like the Korean like barbecue or whatever?
Korean barbecue.
That stuff
is so good.
It's delicious. But nothing beats a good old taco al pastor.
Well, I say Italian, because Italian food is unbelievable. I'm not going to say it's healthy, but it is unbelievably good.
It is fuego.
It is a fuego.
Yep.
Next up, the greatest athlete of all time.
Interesting. Does it have to be fictional or real?
I mean, I would like to think an athlete has to be real. Like you can't say Speedy Gonzalez. Hercules is not an athlete.
What? How is he an athlete?
I don't know.
Other than the running.
I really put up this. I was trying to think of a fictional runner. Gretzky's a great answer, Artemis.
Gretzky.
Of course, somebody who said Stanley Cup was going to say Gretzky.
Yeah. But Jordan, you can't go without saying Michael Jordan. Like,
Jordan?
He was maybe not necessarily an athlete, like the best athlete, but like one of the best competitors of all time. Like,
okay, I guess
with the that competitive mentality and like professionalism to his work. You know what I mean?
Right. Jesse Owens, Jim Thorpe or Jim Brown. Oh, great answers in here, guys. Yeah, these are great answers.
Best athlete of all time died from being the best athlete of all time. The dude that ran from Marathon to Sparta and back before dropping dead.
Wow. You don't even know his name, and he's just the best athlete of all time.
Fine. I'll Google it.
Ali's another good one.
Like, insert random Greek name here.
Jordan, only baller to have a good Space Jam movie. I mean, is there more than 2? I know of the second one by reputation only. The only reason I'm saying this guy is because I don't watch football. I don't follow football, but I know who Tom Brady is. Right?
I found the name. Pheidippides, who ran to Athens. Sorry, not Sparta.
Oh, you don't even know his story. You didn't know his name. I don't think that counts. He can't be the greatest then.
Well, you know what he did, okay? And everybody does.
KR knew he didn't run back. You probably looked it up too, KR. I know.
I'm pretty sure he ran back.
I know. But does Wiki say it, though? Wiki knows all.
Well, now you're making me look it up.
Well, it's Fuego. There's no point. All right. And the last but not least, the best all-around 40K player in the world right now.
Oh, all round. Okay, what does all round mean? Like, play different factions or what?
It means whatever you want to mean. It means to you, if you see this person, and I'm not talking about win rate, I'm not talking about faction specialists, I'm talking about all around. If you had to pick, who do you think is the best Warhammer player right now in the world? Just like in terms of pure skill, maybe it's flexibility, however you want to determine it. Because there's a lot of ways you can go about it. And it's going to be biased too, because I feel like it's hard to quantify somebody that you haven't played. You know what I mean? Because it's really hard to do that, because playing somebody is where you really find out how good they are. Seeing them on stream is not the same. You need to be able to look them in the eye and see that kind of stuff. Shad, Naden, Ganyo, both great answers. Yep.
Yeah, they're fantastic, like really good answers. I think that being a good player, in my view, has to encompass everything from quick on your feet, calm under pressure, creative thinking and problem solving on the table, as well as impeccable sportsmanship. I think has to be like a big part of like what I would consider the best all-round player. And a decent hobbyist as well. Like I think that should still count as being part of like an all-round player. You know what I mean? Like you can be a fantastic player that wins 1 million GTs or does really well, but have like a bad reputation, or have like the most terrible looking army ever. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're good at the game, but it's like you're not encompassing the all-roundness that is Warhammer. I'd say you're one of the best, Dustin.
Wow. Well, thank you. I appreciate
you're
that.
Welcome.
That you're one of the best too, Scary.
Oh, well, thanks. That's fuego.
We copped out so hard on that. If you want to get that question again, go to the Patreon, I guess.
That's right.
Copped out so hard.
For $5 a month, you too can make us talk about this again.
Oh my God. That's your fault. I could not say you after you said that. That was your fault. I had an answer too.
I didn't make you say nothing. Okay, just say.
The worst. Yeah. The absolute worst. But the best anyway. Thank you so much for coming on and co-hosting with me. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Sad we didn't get to go to the Worlds, but I'm super
you know
happy.
What? It is. I'm happy to see our friends there and playing games like everybody who we've met at the world stage, at the World Championships, at GTs, fellow Canadians that are going and competing at the international stage for the first time as well. Like there's
a lot of first timers.
There's some really cool stuff out there. Don't worry, we'll be there next year. We'll be taking names, kicking butt, and we'll be doing it with the factions that everybody think is impossible, and we'll be the talk of the town, bro. We'll be next year's Fuego.
We'll be the next year's Fuego. Absolutely. Thanks a lot, everybody, for joining us as well. This is, again, filmed live every Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So thank you so much for the chat community. You guys are awesome, and the reason we keep doing this, if you want to support us even further, we do have a Patreon, and we do have a second part coming up where we're going to go in depth on the winners of this incredible inaugural World event that we're going to be covering. So please check that out, and we will be doing that one publicly for everyone because we love you guys and we want you to experience what it could be like for the second part. But for now, we say adieu. Enjoy the coverage of the Worlds with Adam and Paul this weekend with GW. Please check that out because it is great coverage, great commentators. You can't miss it. If you like Warhammer, you got to watch that. That's the place to be. I'll be watching it. Will you be watching it, Sky?
I most certainly probably won't because I'm at a tournament this weekend. But
the Sudbury
in my heart, I will.
In your heart, you will be. Okay. In your heart,
you'll be checking it in between rounds.
Good enough. Good enough. You just want to see the results. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you all next week. Thanks again, Sky.
Thanks a lot for having me. This was great. Have a great week, everyone.